In the small town of Fairview, nestled among the rolling hills of Oregon, lived a humble man named Ethan Carter. Ethan wasn't rich, nor was he a man of great stature. He didn't own a grand home, and he drove an old rusted Ford pickup that coughed each time he turned the key. But what Ethan did possess was far more valuable than wealth or fame. He had wisdom, a gift shaped by years of observation, humility, and clever thinking. Ethan ran a modest hardware store on Main Street. The shop had been in his family for 3 generations, passed down from his grandfather to his father, and now to him. The creaky wooden floor, the scent of oil and pine, and the friendly jingle of the doorbell all added to its charm. People came not only for tools and supplies but also for Ethan's quiet advice and calm presence. One unusually hot July afternoon, a young man named Logan White barged into the shop. Logan had recently moved to Fairview from Los Angeles, seeking a slower life and escape from the rat race. He was ambitious, sharp-tongued, and always in a hurry. To him, cleverness was synonymous with fast money and quicker shortcuts. "Hey, you the owner?" Logan asked, eyeing Ethan. Ethan looked up from behind the counter, his reading glasses low on his nose. "That'd be me," he said with a gentle smile. "What can I help you with?" Logan threw down a blueprint on the counter. "I'm building a small workshop on my property. Need supplies, wood, nails, paint, everything. And I need it quick." Ethan studied the blueprint. "This is a decent plan," he said thoughtfully. "But I'd recommend changing the roofing angle. This town gets heavy snow in the winter. That angle won't hold up." Logan scoffed. "I've built stuff before, man. This is fine. I just need the materials." Ethan nodded slowly and began making a list of supplies. He didn't argue. He had learned long ago that sometimes the best way to teach was not to speak, but to let life do the talking. Within the week, Logan had all the materials delivered to his land, and he began building furiously, eager to prove himself. Meanwhile, Ethan returned to his simple rhythm, running the store by day, tending his vegetable garden in the evenings, and sipping sweet tea on the porch as the sun dipped behind the hills. He noticed Logan often worked into the night, lights blazing, hammering echoes stretching across the valley. About a month later, a heavy rainstorm hit Fairview. Thunder cracked like gunfire, and wind howled through the town. The following morning, Logan stormed into Ethan's store, soaked and furious. "My workshop's roof collapsed," he barked. "Everything's ruined." Ethan gently put down the screwdriver he was holding. "I'm sorry to hear that," he said. "What happened?" Logan slammed a photo on the counter. The image showed a collapsed roof, water pooling inside. "It was that angle, just like you said. Why didn't you insist?" Ethan sighed. "I offered advice, not orders. A man only learns when he's ready to listen." Logan stared at him, embarrassed, and something shifted in his expression. That day, Logan began coming by more frequently. Sometimes just to ask questions, sometimes to observe Ethan as he interacted with customers. Slowly, he started to realize there was more to cleverness than being loud or fast. One morning, a peculiar event put Ethan's wisdom in the spotlight. A wealthy businessman named Richard Moore drove into town. Rumor had it he wanted to buy up land and turn Fairview into a resort destination. Locals buzzed with excitement, but Ethan remained cautious. Moore hosted a community meeting at the town hall and proposed building luxury condos, shopping outlets, and a high-speed highway connecting Fairview to the city. He promised jobs, development, and tourism. The townsfolk clapped and nodded, some nearly drooling at the prospect of wealth. But Ethan stood slowly from the back row and raised his hand. "Mr. Moore," he said calmly, "your offer is generous. But what happens when the developers are done and leave? What happens to our farmland, our quiet streets, and the people who've called this place home for generations?" Moore chuckled. "With all due respect, sir, the future waits for no one. This is progress." Ethan walked to the front of the room, pulled a small box from his coat, and opened it. Inside were seeds, corn, beans, squash. "These," he said, "are what built Fairview. and what sustains it. You're offering a future built on glass and steel. But we already have a future, one rooted in soil, family, and community. We don't need to become a reflection of the cities we moved away from. We need to protect what makes this place different. There was silence, then murmurs. Then, one by one, townspeople stood and clapped. Moore realized he had misjudged the heart of Fairview. He quietly withdrew his proposal and left the next day. From that moment on, people began to see Ethan not just as the friendly old hardware store owner, but as a steward of wisdom. Even Logan, once blinded by ambition, began volunteering with local projects, repairing the town library, helping the elderly, even leading a youth carpentry class. He and Ethan often sat on the porch together, talking about life, failure, and the quiet power of patience. Years passed. Fairview remained untouched by the fast greed of modern expansion. It grew slowly with intention. Logan eventually took over the hardware store when Ethan retired. He married a local woman, raised a family, and taught his children the value of listening before acting. One autumn day, long after Ethan had passed peacefully in his sleep, Logan found an old journal buried in a drawer behind the counter. Inside were Ethan's handwritten notes, quotes, and thoughts on life. On the last page, written in fading ink, were the words, "Cleverness is not about outwitting others. It's about understanding them. True wisdom isn't loud. It's the quiet voice that guides you home when the noise of the world is too much." Logan closed the journal and placed it by the window, where the sunlight caught the edges. Outside, children laughed in the street. The bell above the door rang as a young boy entered, asking about a hammer for his first school project. Logan smiled and walked over. "I've got just the thing," he said. "But let me show you something about holding it right." And so, the wisdom lived on, not in shouts or slogans, but in the small, clever choices that shaped generations.